Yes, and we are back again. So sorry for that break in transmission. So it's as it stands, it's Chelsea who are playing against Zenit St. Petersburg. It's a beautiful ball from Zenit St. Petersburg. Could it be their first goal? But James Reese does his best to come back and defend the ball. This could have been deadly for Chelsea. James Reese doing his best to come and give a cover up for Chelsea. That was a beautiful flicker from the Zenit St. Petersburg player, but James Reese was as fast as ahead to get the ball off. It's now a corner kick, and the ball has been kicked straight into the hands of goalkeeper Edward Mendy, who lies down beautifully to calm down tempest, because it looks as if Chelsea is really under some sort of pressure. And I don't know why Chelsea is playing like that. It's difficult. For the first time you're watching us, you're welcome to Made in Africa TV, where we bring you live commentary between Chelsea FC and Zenit St. Petersburg, who are coming all the way from Russia. And it's it's game on at 0-0 after 6 minutes of play. It's Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. You know that Chelsea are the current champions of the UEFA Champions League, and they will have to fight hard, bite hard tooth and nail to ensure that they are able to maintain a league title. No English team has been able to defend this title, apart from a few teams like Real Madrid and the other likes. No other team in Europe has been able to defend the title. Of course, Real Madrid doing it back to back to back, winning it 3 times on a stroke. But with Zinedine Zidane, apart from him, no one has been able to achieve such feats. So let's see if Chelsea can replicate that. So the ball is with Chelsea. Rhys James is with the ball, dribbles again. Now he goes back, gives it to Jorginho. Jorginho to Kovacic. Kovacic is finding space. He gives it to Ziyech. Ziyech launches a long one, but unfortunately, this will not trouble the keeper. It's a weeble shot. It's a feeble shot, and if you look at the position of Lukaku, I was expecting that Ziyech would have given such a sublime sweet pass to Lukaku, but unfortunately, that pass didn't go through. It just went way over the bar, and it's Chelsea who are starting attacking. Marcos Alonso gives a pass to Lukaku, but it's been blocked. Zenit and Petersburg living dangerously, but they've started attack again. The number 24 man, he tries to bring the ball down, but Kovacic has the ball. He's giving it back to Antonio Rudiger, and they are starting the play from behind. Antonio Rudiger has given it back to Andreas Christensen. Christensen to Cesar Azpilicueta. Azpilicueta gives it back to Ziyech, and of course Ziyech is unable to make it, and it's a throw-in to Zenit St. Petersburg. It is 14 minutes of play, and Zenit St. Petersburg 0, Chelsea FC 0 in that particular score. This is going to be a key encounter for Chelsea, and they should be very wary of the attack and sort of quality that Zenit St. Petersburg brings onto the bear. So they've started play in the middle, and Zenit is very calm on the ball. They're playing it pace by pace. It's a beautiful cross inside, but Antonio Rudiger wouldn't even let that go. But the lines person or the assistant referee says it's an offside. Assistant referee says it's an offside. Rudiger gives the ball back to Andres Christensen. Christensen gives it to Cesar Azpilicueta, his captain. Azpilicueta moves with the ball, moves forward back to Christensen. Christensen to Jorginho. Jorginho, what is he going to do with the ball? He stretches his hand and calls for Ziyech to move forward, but he turns back, gives it back to Antonio Rudiger. Rudiger back to Christensen, and they are playing it at the back again. Rudiger gives it to Azpilicueta, who has moved forward. Azpilicueta back to Ziyech. Ziyech to Reese. Reese dribbles 1-2, but of course, unfortunately, he's unable to retain the ball. Zenit with the ball currently. It's a long clearance, but Christensen moves from the defense to the midfield to make sure that the ball is cleared, and it's a throw to Zenit St. Petersburg. They have currently with the ball. It's a long drive to Zenit. Marco Alonso chases the ball, but it's been beautifully brought down by the Zenit team, who are playing at a faster pace that Chelsea defenders are struggling to meet them, and Kovacic nearly fouled him, but it's a beautiful clearance from Christensen, who takes the ball and he doesn't know what to do. He's dribbling, he giros, and the pass it doesn't go through. Finally, Alonso struggles to get the ball. Alonso with the ball. It's 16 minutes of play. Alonso moving along the flanks. Okay, he turns in, gives it to Jorginho. Jorginho gave it back to Chilwell. Sorry, Gives it to Ziyech. Chelsea are not playing as is expected of them. Everyone felt that, I mean, this is a match that Chelsea could come in and win easily. We don't doubt the capabilities of Zenit St. Petersburg. But of course, looking at the output and the myriad of players that Chelsea has, one is expecting, or one would expect that Chelsea could be struggling. So it's 70 minutes of play and it's still 0-0 between Chelsea and Zenit St. Petersburg. Remember that you have to subscribe to Made in Africa TV. Always subscribe to Made in Africa TV so that anytime we bring you any of these matches, you get the opportunity to watch in that particular order. And it's Chelsea who are now of the ball. Rhys James is short, but it goes wide over the pole. So welcome goal kick for Zenit St. Petersburg. So the keeper, I don't know whether it's a time wasting tactic, but it's too early to call it a time wasting tactics. It just doesn't seem to have an idea whom to kick the ball to. That is what I would want to believe. Because as he's delaying, I strongly would want to believe that he doesn't have anyone to kick the ball to, and it's a bit of a difficulty in that particular order. But they've started the attack again. Jorginho has an adult to have fouled the striker of Zenit St. Petersburg, Malcolm. Is a judge to have fouled Malcolm, which also happens to be the captain of Zenit St. Petersburg. Remember that Jorginho is a Europe, the Europe games they played recently. He won it with Italy. He's won the Champions League. He's won the Super Cup. So more in his further, is he going to win the Club World Cup and then be one of the few players who have won all these things? Edouard Mendy is furious with his defense and is trying to call them to order. It's a nice cross in, but of course to the far right where Zenit is starting attack, they are playing beautifully and they seem to surprise Chelsea with a long drive. But unfortunately, this wouldn't trouble Chelsea. Kuziaev, sorry if I'm not getting the names right. Kuziaev, he's wearing the number 14 jersey for Zenit St. Petersburg. Kuziaev hits that long one, but unfortunately, it didn't pan out well for Zenit St. Petersburg in that particular outfit. So Chelsea are starting at the back as usual. Mendy gives it to Christensen to Rudiger. Rudiger gives it to Kovacic back to Edouard Mendy gives it back to Rudiger. Or Rudiger do with the ball. Rudiger. Okay, so he just walks majestically, gives it to Christensen. Christensen also pacing up, gives it back to Rudiger. Rudiger on the ball, pacing up back to Christensen. I don't know what was going on between these two, but Kovacic was into empty space, but that wouldn't be because he has given it to Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta in 10s, right? Searches for Rhys James on the other hand, and Lukaku has been very quiet in this game so far. It's 20 minutes of play, and it's Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. Back to Jorginho to Marcos Alonso would cut in and would find Jorginho in the midfield again. Jorginho turns again, gives it to Mason Mount. Mason Mount hasn't really had much game time this season in its early days yet, but Rudiger straight to Aspilicueta, who comes for the ball and gives it to Rhys James along the flanks. Rhys James dribbles one, he comes back, gives it back to Aspilicueta, and the small fans of Zenit St. Petersburg are really jubilating. Christensen gives it back to his goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy. Mendy taps it cool to Aspilicueta. Then he gives it back to Christensen. This could be dangerous for Chelsea. Christensen back to Kovacic. Kovacic to Jorginho, who has come back to help the defense. Jorginho moves in. Kovacic raises for his hand to be given a pass. Aspilicueta moves with the ball. Is it going to be blocked? Is it going to be brought down? Aspilicueta releases the ball to James Reese. Reese James with the ball. He moves along the touchline. But unfortunately, the ball has been cleared by the Zenit defender. Reese James playing his third game. His third game, almost like his fourth game this particular season. And he gives the ball back to Aspilicueta, back to him. back to Kovacic to Jorginho to Mason Mount. Mason Mount gives it to Lukaku, and what can Lukaku do? No, the defenders clear the ball. The Zenit defenders clear the ball. That could have been a dangerous ball. That was a sweet ball from Mason Mount, but unfortunately, Lukaku lost that after his second dribble, and it's 0-0. Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. Mason Mount of the ball dribbles one, gives it back to Kovacic to Jorginho. Jorginho gives a long cross to me. What can Lukaku do? He tests the ball, and people, could this be the first goal for Chelsea? Oh, unfortunately. It's very difficult these days. Internet data issues, this could have been first goal. I can't really tell. Was he also looks to be in an offside position a bit before the ball came to him, but it looks like Lukaku has slotted in his first goal. And people, it's Chelsea 1, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. Chelsea 1, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. Unfortunately, looks like that ball didn't go through. So pardon me, that ball didn't go through. It's still 0-0. It's still 0-0. Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. But how did Lukaku miss this ball? I just can't believe it. In the first place, I thought it was a goal. How did he miss this ball? Unbelievable, Lukaku. This is a usual typical Lukaku goal where he would bring it on his chest, put it down, and just strike the net. But unfortunately, it didn't pan out like that. It's a throw-in to Zenit St. Petersburg, who are now initiating their own attack. And Chelsea has blocked the ball. Mason Mount gives it back to Lukaku. Lukaku hits the ball, nearly scores, but keeper parries it, and it's a corner kick to Chelsea. And Chelsea are unable to do anything. It's now a throw-in. It's 63-37 in terms of ball possession against Zenit St. Petersburg. Chelsea starting the ball all from the back. Kovacic to Rudiger. Rudiger gives it back to Jorginho. Jorginho back to Christensen. Christensen gives it back to Jorginho. Jorginho gives it to Hakim Ziyech, who has been quiet today. Gives a long cross to Marcos Alonso on the left. Marcos Alonso will cut in. What is he going to give across? Gives it back to Kovacic. Kovacic gives a long one to Aspilicueta on the right hand side. Aspilicueta gives it to Jorginho. Jorginho finds a true pass in Lukaku. Gives it back to. Sorry, so that ball couldn't go through. That shot couldn't go through. That shot from Ziyech didn't go through. So gives it back to Christensen. Christensen to Rudiger. Rudiger gives it back to Jorginho. Jorginho looks for an option. And who's it going to be? Aspilicueta. Jorginho back to Aspilicueta. Gives it to Mason Mount, who moves into an empty space. Back to Jorginho to start play. Jorginho, what is he going to do? Gives it to Kovacic. Kovacic to Mason Mount. Mount to Reese. Reese dribbles one, gives it back to Aspilicueta, who is in front to give across, but it's been blocked by the Zenit St. Petersburg defense, and Chelsea has to restart the play again from the midfield this time. And Christensen has dropped way back to the midfield together with Rudiger. If there is any counter, it's going to be difficult. Missing out of the ball, it turns right, turns in, gives it to Lukaku. Lukaku, the ball has been blocked. Zenit St. Petersburg on the ball. It's a long clearance by Zenit St. Petersburg, and they are moving. It's a counter attack. What can they do? But they've lost the ball. Chelsea with the ball now. Jorginho to Rudiger. Rudiger to Antonio. Rudiger to Kovacic. Sorry. Kovacic with the ball, gives it back to Rudiger, and they start all the way from the back as he gives a long drive back to his goalkeeper Edward Mendy, who is calm on the ball now. And it's 25 minutes of play. It's Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0 in that particular free. And Chelsea have had a lot of wonderful opportunities, but unfortunately, they are unable to put the ball behind the bar. And referee says it's a free kick. This is a beautiful opportunity for Ziyech to have scored, but upon second thought, referee didn't give it to Hakim Ziyech. He says it's a play on. Currently, Zenit has a ball. It's a throw into them. Long throw. They also start from the midfield. Zenit moving gradually from the midfield to number 19. Gives it gives it back to Malcolm. Malcolm to Kuiziewska. What a mouthful name. And then gives a true ball. But can this go through? They play beautiful at the back. Number 19, Shattered Man, gives it back to the defender who is wearing number 5. Number 5 gives us long to the right hand side of the attack. Can the attack of Zenit St. Petersburg do anything with it? And yes, he also starts play, cooling the ball down. Gives it back to midfielders who are playing dilly dally with the ball in the middle. I don't know what's they're also doing. So they are very calm on the ball. Zenit St. Petersburg is very calm on the ball, and they are playing it in their half, inviting Chelsea to come and join the party. But will Chelsea join? The Chelsea players seem to be keeping their high line. It's pass given at the back. Ziyech chases, but is unable to get the ball. Ziyech goes back again, and they've drawn much of the Chelsea players in there just as they wanted. And Zenit St. Petersburg give a long cross to the left hand side of the attack, and they try to initiate an attack on their own. Well, Zenit are so calm on the ball now that they are playing some sort of passes at the back, and it could be dangerous for them if they are not so careful with how they are playing. And they are still with the ball. Zenit with the ball and gives it back to their goalkeeper, who is currently with the ball. Uh, he gives a back pass, and Chelsea players are just in tatters. They're just waiting for what Zenit and Petersburg would do. They seem to be playing with the minds of the Chelsea players, playing it coolly behind. And as it stands, it's still 0-0, 27 minutes of play between Zenit St. Petersburg and Chelsea. Chelsea playing at Stamford Bridge, playing their first home game in the Champions League. And Zenit St. Petersburg is giving them a hell of a time. They're not moving inside, they're just playing the ball at the back, and with the aim of drawing the Chelsea players back into the game. It's a long cross back to the Zenit players, and still at the back, Rhys James on the ball, but it was unsuccessful. Hakim Ziyech, what can he do? Still with Zenit St. Petersburg, and James gets the ball, gives it back to him. Now Aspilicueta starts the ball with the defense. Christensen, he gives it to Antonio Rudiger. Rudiger with the ball. Now he gives a pass to the pass to Jorginho. Jorginho, what's he going to do? Jorginho on the ball. Jorginho dribbles one, looking for empty space, gives it back to Kovacic. Kovacic to Marcos Alonso. Alonso, will he cut in, or he's going to give a cross? Alonso gives it back to Rudiger. Rudiger gives it back to Andreas Christensen. Christensen searching for a partner, gives it back to Rudiger. Rudiger in the four, and it seems Mason Mount is not being tagged. He's alone, but the ball doesn't get to him. Back to Christensen. Christensen opening up the midfield and defense of Zenit St. Petersburg. And Rudiger to Kovacic. Kovacic moves in, but unfortunately the ball comes to nothing. It chases, and the keeper hits it over the touchline, and it's a throw-in to Chelsea. What a dangerous game they are playing in that particular field. Very, very dangerous, I must say. And if they are not careful, this could be their downfall. This could be their downfall. It's still Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg 0 in this particular game. 31 minutes of play, and still no one is showing any headway in terms of winning. And Lukaku seems frustrated because the passes are not getting to him. And you look at the style of play of the Zenit St. Petersburg team, and it's a difficult one. It's a throw-in, and Alonso to Kovacic. Kovacic dribbles one. He's been heckled, and he moves on with the ball. He's been pushed by the Zenit player, but Chelsea still hang on. It's Kovacic still with the ball. He gives it to Christensen. Christensen gives it to Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta back to Rudiger. Rudiger back to Kovacic. Kovacic, that beautiful play, but unfortunately it's brought down again. And what can this happen? No. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's still a stalemate, and no one has made any incursions. Interesting gameplay. Zenit St. Petersburg really torching Chelsea in this particular fold. It's a beautiful one being played by Chelsea. But you see, Chelsea is playing all the beautiful football, but it's not going anywhere. Rudiger giving back to Christiansen. Christiansen uh, back to Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta, what's he going to do this time? And Thomas Tuchel. Tuchel is not Tuchel is not happy. Is not happy with the way proceedings are going at all. Thomas is not really happy with proceedings, how proceedings are going. Chelsea is not playing as they ought to, as is expected of them, and that is getting them worried. So Mason Mount gets the ball, starts the counter attack. Mason Mount moves forward, and what is he going to do? He's been brought down, but he's still on his feet. Mason Mount gives the pass to Lukaku. Lukaku moves in one, shoots, and it's been blocked by the Zenit defender. Three defenders now tackling him, and he's being pushed off the ball. It's a throw-in for Zenit St. Petersburg. Lukaku. Lukaku looking disappointed in that particular one. That shot was blocked by the Zenit defender, and Zenit are playing dangerously and beautifully over there in the part of midfield. And Chelsea wins a throw-in, but unfortunately, referee says it's against Chelsea rather. Whoa, that's an interesting pick. I thought this was a clear one for Chelsea. That Rich James cross was blocked by the defender. Zenit seemed to be defending so well at the back and causing so much pain to Chelsea. It's 32 minutes of play. Chelsea 0, Zenit St. Petersburg still 0. Nothing at par. Nothing. Nothing new here. Zenit with the ball. They are moving slowly. And you just want to waste time and then time ends so that they could take their first point here. No sense of urgency in them. I don't know if it's their strategy or gameplay, but it's a long drive in the middle. And what can this do? Alonso gets the ball, gives it to Kovacic. Kovacic to Mason Mount. Mason Mount to Jorginho. Jorginho to Ziyech. Ziyech to Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta back to Ziyech. Ziyech gives it to Rich James. Rich James gives it back to Jorginho. Jorginho to Christensen. Christensen to Kovacic from the middle. Kovacic, Mason Mount. Mason Mount, what can you do? Gives it to Lukaku, but the ball has been blocked and beautifully taken over by the Zenit defense. And what can they do? It's a beautiful block from Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta gives it to Kovacic. Kovacic to Ziyech. Ziyech, what can he do with the ball? Moves back, gives it back to Mason Mount. Mason Mount has been largely missing in today's match. It's something I can really confirm for you that Mason Mount has been missing largely in today's match. He seems to be in no man's land. All his different splitting passes are not really going through today, and you know that usually someone like Mason Mount gives those killer passes, but unfortunately today those passes are not really pulling through for him, and it's Chelsea again who are in the field of play. Christensen to Jorginho. Jorginho to Rudiger. Rudiger back to Jorginho. Jorginho gives it to Kovacic. What can Kovacic do this time? Kovacic still with the ball. Kovacic, he turns right, gives it back to Jorginho, and the ball has been taken. And Zenit nearly starting a goal on their own. Mason Mount has been brought down, but referee says play on. Back to Hakim Ziyech. Hakim Ziyech has given it to Rich James on the right hand side. Rich James, what is he going to do? He's back giving it back to Aspilicueta. Aspilicueta is there to help him. Aspilicueta gives it to Jorginho. Jorginho takes the ball, dribbles one, gives it to Ziyech. Ziyech to Kovacic. Kovacic to Mason Mount. Mason Mount to Lukaku. And that ball has been taken away again. It looks as if they are really playing Lukaku out of position. And anytime they try to make a move, it doesn't really go through. And Chelsea still with the ball. Chelsea have dominated proceedings. It's 70-30, but still nothing good to write home about. Reece James to Kovacic. Kovacic to Mason Mount. Mason Mount gives the cross and still doesn't go to Reece James. Reece James with the ball, and yes, it's still with Zenit St. Petersburg who are controlling the game as at now. They are playing dangerously. They're living dangerously. Mason Mount of the ball gives it to Alonso, and that cross has been blocked by strong man. Is this strong man or strong man? Well, that ball has been blocked. Anyway, you look at it, 36 minutes of play, and no, that was a needless foul by Mason Mount on Douglas Malcolm. That was a needless foul by Mason Mount on Douglas Malcolm. So, it's the first time you're watching us, subscribe to Made in Africa TV. Or bring you nothing but the best. So Zenit on the ball. Zenit pushing so hard. They managed to enter the 18-yard box, and it's their first corner kick. Kind courtesy a Jorginho block. It's their first corner kick. What can they do with this particular corner? Will Chelsea concede their first goal in this game? You know that when you look at statistics, anytime Chelsea concedes a first goal, it's actually very difficult for them to move on. And the ball has been crossed. Aspilicueta is unable to get it. It's a beautiful shot, but Edward Mendy, Rakistiav, that left in swinger. Rakistiav wearing number 44 jersey, and straight into the hands of goalkeeper Edward Mendy. Rakistiav couldn't score with that. Well, that would have been a beautiful one if he had scored. So playing in the background is Kovacic. Kovacic moving forward gives it to Aspilicueta to Rich James back to Kovacic. Kovacic gives it to Jorginho. Jorginho gives it back to Christensen. Christensen to Antonio Rudiger. Rudiger back to Christensen. Christensen to Jorginho. Jorginho looking for an empty space to give his defense splitting pass. Jorginho still with the ball. Gives it back to Christensen for start to play. Christensen to Aspilicueta to Jorginho back to Christensen back to Antonio Rudiger with the ball, gives it back to Jorginho with the ball, gives it to Aspilicueta back to Jorginho to Mason Mount on the ball, gives it to Christensen back to Antonio Rudiger surges forward, gives it to Kovacic, and Kovacic looking for Marcos Alonso. Rudiger, a nice cross inside to Rich James, and the Zenit St. Petersburg heads it over for another corner, and it's Douglas Santos again, the captain of the day. Douglas Santos heads it over for Chelsea's third corner kick. Douglas Santos heads it over for Chelsea's third corner kick in the game. Chelsea are really trying their best. They're really doing what they ought to do, but unfortunately, it's quite difficult for them in this particular game. I don't know why Chelsea are really struggling. So the whole issue is that Lukaku is being mapped out of the game. He's not being given a chance to go for those 50-50 balls that could be deadly for the team. And there are always 2 or 3 defenders in front of him anytime there's a true ball to him. So that's the reason why Chelsea are unable to penetrate. So the whole thing lies on Lukaku. So until Lukaku is given that free roll to move and make some incursions, to be very difficult for Chelsea to score any goal. But Chelsea still with the ball back to Jorginho. Jorginho looks for Rich James. Rich James gives it back to Jorginho back to Mason Mount to Ziyech to Rich James. What can he do? Gives it back to Aspilicueta gives it to Jorginho gives a nice cross, and Marcos Alonso know the defense are quick to clear it. Alonso is unable to clear the ball, and Zenit St. Petersburg deal with the ball behind, and it's still Zenit well with the ball. They are playing very beautiful football at the back, and it could be deadly, but of course Kovacic gets the ball, and immediately they get the ball, they regroup at the back. Kovacic, Alonso to Mount, what can he do? Mount still with the ball, gives it to Kovacic, back to Alonso to Kovacic to Aspilicueta to Andres Christensen, gives it to Aspilicueta, what will he do? Is he going to give a cross? Gives it to Rich James back on the ball, gives it to Jorginho looking for Aspilicueta, back to Jorginho again. Jorginho on the ball, gives it to Christensen. Christiansen gives it to, and what can Isaiah do? The ball has been cleared. The ball has been cleared, and Zenit St. Petersburg are free they're having their they were having their heads in their palm, and that was a close one. That was a really close one. They could have conceded if they had made any mistake, and still Jorginho with the ball back to um, Rudiger. Rudiger back to play. He gives it back to Alonso. Alonso back to Kovacic. Kovacic to back to Rudiger, and Chelsea were playing beautiful over there. But it's Zenit who have started play at the back. 42 minutes of play, and it's Chelsea 0, Zenit and Petersburg 0. Chelsea are really struggling to make any early incursions in that particular space. Thomas Tuchel is urging them on, is just encouraging them to move forward. But it's a difficult one. Thomas, you need to understand that your boys are really trying to do their best, but it's a difficult one. Zenit are really playing compact football behind an all attacking, all defensive game. They are not giving any room for empty spaces and empty chances for Chelsea to meander through. Kovacic with the ball. Dribbles one to Ziyech. Ziyech gives it to Reece James. Reece James, who is he looking for? Back to Ziyech. Ziyech back to Reece James. He's being quiet. Cross, and unfortunately Lukaku's ball goes over the bar. Lukaku was a beautiful cross from Reece James, but the ball has been headed over the bar. And people, we are still live. We are giving you live commentary from Stamford Bridge. Chelsea against Zenit St. Petersburg here on Made in Africa TV. Remember that you also have to subscribe to Made in Africa TV and also STT Media, all on YouTube. Zenit St. Petersburg with the ball. They've now seen the day of light and they are moving through the midfield. And Chelsea are on the counter. What can happen? Kovacic is on the ball still. He gives it to Mason Mount. What can Mason Mount to Lukaku? Is moving far across. It's a beautiful cross, but of course to no one in particular. That was a poor cross from Mason Mount on the left side of attack to no one in particular. Mason Mount is Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel himself seems to be in some sort of disarray and confusion. No, you can't blame him. He's really going through a lot in there. Can you really blame the man? He's trying to do his best, but things don't seem right. And Azpilicueta has been given a yellow card for attack on the defender. It was an elbow, and that was a needless tackle from Azpilicueta. With all his experience, I wasn't expecting him to doing something of that sort. That's too bad, and he deserved a yellow card. So he's the first person to receive yellow card for the night, and the first Chelsea player to receive a yellow card in the Champions League game. It's a free kick to Zenit. It's 45 minutes of play, and barring any time added on, it remains the same. It's going to be 0-0, and the referee has blown the whistle for the first half to end. You can check it out on Made in Africa TV, where we bring you the second half. Stick and stay with us.